How's it going, Clayton? Appreciate you doing this
Absolutely.
today. I mean, obviously the defense played very well last year, and maybe that was a surprise considering what you inherited. Lost some pieces, though, off of it this year. So what are you talking about with your guys right now? Do you mention last year and saying we had guys step up last year, got to have the same this year?
I think it's very important for us to recap 2021 as a defense, as a staff, as a program. And then we obviously got to, obviously acknowledge that 2021 is the old season. And now we're moving on to the 2022 season. Mainly looking for guys to step up as leaders. We have some fantastic leaders last year on the defense. Just to name a few, J.J. Jabari. We had Damani doing it his way, and we also had obviously Foster. So right now it's finding guys to step up in those roles as leaderships. And right now we're just talking about the defense, some things that we did well, things that we need to do better to help this football team to achieve all of our goals.
I know the plays obviously changed over the year, but when you came in here last year, just the mindset that you had and what you wanted to be able to do, looking back at it, what are some of the things that you took away from last year that you think you guys can build on, and what were some of the things that you learned that maybe you weren't expecting, just trying to be able to figure out the guys that were around you and the guys you were coaching?
I think the most important thing is that when we came in last year, there was a ton to prove. We had a chip on our shoulder. And talking to our guys right now, that chip is still there. We still have things to prove. It's going to be things that's going to be said about us outside of this building. But our guys have pride, and I think the most important thing is that we just continue to believe in team defense, believing that if we can play good defense for a long period of time in fourth quarters in the month of November, we'll have a chance, as the season goes on, we'll have a chance to have a successful season. But we have to continue to play team defense and just understand that it takes all of us in this room to achieve our goals.
Clayton, you obviously brought in Devani and Terrell there. Just what did you see from them in their previous stops, and how do you feel like they could really help impact this defense?
What I saw was guys who play snaps, one. They have the size and the strength and the speed that we're looking for to add. Both of those guys have, they were grown men when I talked to them on the phone through the recruiting process. And it was like once they hit the portal, watched their tape at home, and got them on the phone, and those guys they kind of bought into what was going on. And obviously it's a group effort in recruiting. But those guys, both of those guys bring up some experience and they bring some playmaking ability. I'm looking forward to, seeing how those guys develop over the next couple of weeks. But they've been great guys, and the team have embraced them. That's, obviously we had a lot of transfers last year, and those guys who transferred in last year are embracing the guys that are transferring this year. It's pretty cool watching it. And we're just trying to take advantage of the situation that we have.
Clayton Shane was talking about yesterday how guys like Jordan and I guess Jordan Birch and Strawn are guys that, I guess not to put like unrealistic expectations on them, but challenge them to be, big pieces this year. I guess just what's that kind of looked like from y'all's end as far as, challenging guys like that who are stepping into bigger roles maybe, and how have they kind of taken to it and under that, I guess, for lack of a better term, challenge?
Yep. You really have to just look at it as it's just growth. They may be uncomfortable right now. That means that they're probably growing, which is good. And I think those guys, they're ready for the moment. You want every single player at this level, offense, defense, special teams, is when your time is called. It's time for you to obviously answer that bell. And it's an immense job that those guys got to get done, and they understand it. Just got to really go out and be themselves. One, it's not too much on your shoulder. Just continue to improve every single day and take the coaching and bring players along, and you'll be fine, and just be who you are, really.
Clayton, how much do you rep Sherrod this spring, considering the past 2 years where he's been so hit with injuries?
Yep. Sherrod is one. He loves football, and we've always had that conversation on how we're going to rep him. And we actually limited him last spring. We limited him during fall camp on certain situations, just to try to get Sherrod to Saturdays, because he's a heart and soul kind of guy. So you want him to be able to to pour himself out on the football field on Saturdays, during the fall. That's the most important time. And so we haven't really had a true conversation, but those are things that us and me and the coaching staff, we'll definitely do a good job of planning out his reps between now and Saturdays during the fall. Thank you.
Clayton, I'm curious, and you can share whatever you're comfortable with, but I'm curious over the offseason if maybe you had some other opportunities, and if you did, why was you coming back and continuing to be a part of this program important to you?
Does he know something now? What are you talking about? Well, I know one thing: college football is one of those crazy off-season things, and I don't want to get too far into what's going on, but the mindset is that this is the place to be. You know what I mean? Like this, I don't care. I wouldn't really care what any possibilities there would be, but this is the place to be. Like Coach Beamer always says that you can come here and do exactly what you need to get done here. We just got to continue building the program, but it's a great place, and it's a great place to be, man. Seriously, it really is.
A couple of your new guys in from NC State, or former NC State guys at one time with Sterling Lucas and Terrell, obviously. Yeah. What have you seen from those guys in the early going, I guess, just coaching side and player side, and how do you see that group as a whole coming together on defensive end?
I didn't put the two together, but they definitely, they're Wolfpack's true and true for sure. You can see it in their eyes and their blood and just the way they carry themselves, and obviously that was attractive to me. But that wasn't the overall, final piece of the puzzle. It was all about, did that person and who they were as players and coaches, did they fit what Coach Beamer was trying to get done, and they did. And so it is nice to have some Wolfpacks in the building, but they're different age groups, so we can't even relate. Them guys are a lot younger than me, so. But it's nice having some Wolfpack in the building. So now they're Gamecock, so find a way to make it happen. Yep.
I think you guys have 3 mid-year enrollees on the defensive side of the ball: Felix, Peyton, and Anthony.
Yes, you mean freshmen? Yes.
Yeah, mid-year freshmen.
Gotcha.
Yeah. What have you seen from them so far? I'm sure they're probably drinking water through a fire hose right now. But what kind of growth have you seen from them since the time they got here to now?
All 3 of those guys have shown us different growth in all types of different ways. From Felix, just being a defensive lineman coming in the mid-year, that's hard. Learning the techniques that it takes up front. Peyton has been a sponge, and Anthony Rose is growing every single day. It's just great having those guys here. They're all like little brothers. They come in together, and they meet with Coach Gray as much as they possibly can, and all the assistant coaches. They really want to. They have the mindset of what we want our program to be about, as far as just coming in with a coach me coach attitude every single day. And no, you can coach them hard, you can coach them detail, they're just great guys to coach right now. So we really love that. So we want to keep that going, and they just got to continue to grow, and then that time is going to come, and when it does, and I hope they're ready to go.
With Spalding on the sideline, like Coach Beamer was talking to us yesterday. Who are some of those other DBs? And Beamer mentioned Cam getting some reps there. Who are some of those other DBs that you think could get some looks and maybe help you guys out at that spot?
At that spot, obviously it's going to take more guys to come in and step up their role at other positions. For example, obviously you have Marcellus Dow who can play in there, so we're going to give him some reps on the inside just because Cam is, he's developed himself as a really good player outside. But right now he's just trying to become an overall player. So you have Cam, you have Dow. You also have R.J. Roderick. Once he gets back on the field, he'll be a really good nickel. He's actually a perfect nickel. You also have Isaiah Norris, who can be a guy that can step in. And you got a couple freshmen that are going to come in the month of June, late May. And there'll definitely be some prospects in that group to help us out at that spot. Yep.
How much do you think you'll miss Jabari Ellis and the way he developed and kind of became a defensive leader? And we haven't heard that much about Keem Green. Is he a guy that can be developed and be a player for you in the middle?
Definitely miss Jabari. Jabari was, he was different. He was kind of like the grandfather of the group who would speak out. And he'll let the coaches know if something was not quite the way it should be as a player from a player's perspective, which us as coaches, we need that feedback. We also need to hear it. We also need to feel it because it makes us reevaluate things that we're doing and if we need to adjust, not completely change for a certain person, but you do need to think about it and also adjust. Keem Green has made some strides this winter in the weight room, and now it's all about transferring that over to the field to see if he can if his role can increase. That's what it's about this spring.
Clayton, and kind of sticking with the interior there, obviously, a guy like Zach Pickens had a decision to make. He decided to come back and be a part of this program for another year. So you've got, and also Rick is working his way back from injury. a little more experience there on the inside. What kind of freedom does that give you guys with, I guess, just how do you approach blitz packages and things of that sort?
Yep. It's really about, and we've had multiple conversations about the group that we have on the inside, and it's really about finding roles for the guys like some of the names you named off, like a Nick Barrett, Keem Green, Rick, when he comes back. You got Tonka. So we have roles that we're looking for certain guys on down and distances, short yardage, red zone, 4-minute situations at the end of games. Obviously, pass rush guys. You guys still have Boogie, who's definitely had a pretty good bowl game, you guys remember. But it makes us have the conversation about roles. So, and that's fun as a staff when you have an opportunity to say, okay, if we get in this situation, it'll be great for him to be in on the game right now, or goal line and those kind of things. So that's the main thing we got from that.
Ask about two guys. I mean, obviously, T.J. Sanders is someone that got a lot of praise.
Another name.
Yeah, T.J. Sanders got a lot of praise going into the off season. What have you seen from him in terms of a jump? And same with Brad Johnson, kind of an older guy. What have you seen from him as well?
So T.J. is a true freshman, probably his third year playing football total that I think, and his ceiling, he probably had the highest ceiling in the room just because he hasn't played a lot of football, and he's a 300-pounder that has really nice feet. He actually understands football. He's a basketball kind of defensive tackle, kind of in the Tonka-ish, but world as far as movement-wise. But I think that he can present some problems from a pass rush and movement. He's a really good football player, and I'm definitely glad that he's here. And just as far as growth with him, I mean, the sky's the limit. It's going to take time because that's a position where it takes time. He's a good one to have in the building for sure. And Brad Johnson, last year was his first year playing linebacker. It took some time to kind of get him rolling on some things, but he's a smart guy. He's a team guy. He loves the Gamecocks. And so with him right now, he's just going back and looking at guys that remind him of himself as a linebacker. That's the first thing we're doing so we can just see how they're playing. And then Brad also, he's seeing the game totally different now. It's like, wow, I can't believe I could have done this. I could have done that. That was easy. And he's a really smart player, so he just got to now bring it back. He came back for that exact reason. He wanted to see 2 years of himself playing linebacker and to see what happens. But it's very exciting watching him in the meeting room right now.
Clayton, you kind of touched on it with a guy like Brad, but you bring back guys like him, like RJ, like Zach. I mean, when you look at that group and all those guys that did decide to come back, whether that's super seniors or guys who had pro options, I guess one, for you guys as a coaches, how great is that to have a bunch of guys back and some of that continuity? But two, I guess, why do you feel like it is that those guys did come back and want to give it another run with y'all as well?
Well, to me, if I'm a player and if I did have those options, obviously it's a personal decision to start out with. It really is. And then, you feel like you left something out there. You feel like you can play better. Once you put your full body of work on tape, there's no erasing that. You can't get that off of cyberword. There's no delete. It's up there. They got it. It's out there. It's your resume. And so those guys feel like they have more. They can play better. They can play more efficient, more consistent. And that's the first reason. But as a team, they, as you're growing up, as you're getting older, those guys feel like it's my time to lead this football team. And I've been there before where you feel like, okay, I'm a senior, and you feel different. And so that has a little bit to do with that. Some guys might have left the building. Now you feel like you can kind of rise to the occasion type thing. And it could have been that. I haven't had those conversations with those guys, but I've kind of been there. But that's kind of the main thing. And then Coach Beamer does a great job of, making guys feel like it's home. And I think that has a lot to do with it, too. So it's a great place to be, great people in the building.
With Devontae and going back to Terrell Dawkins, what do you think those guys can add to you? Obviously, they're coming into some positions where y'all are replacing some pretty key pieces, but what do you think they'll add to you guys?
I think Devontae will add competition. I think he adds some speed to the position. He's a physical player. He's another grown man. He's a guy from Detroit, Michigan. He's still kind of confused on the weather down here a little bit, knowing that he saw snow I was with him today. He saw snow for the first time, so I called him and went over there and saw him, all that good old stuff. But as far as that, he's going to bring just a different mentality. I mean, he brings a real football mentality and a professional attitude mentality as far as when he comes in the building. So I think that. And then Terrell Dawkins is kind of the same thing. He's in a system where he feel like he can now flourish and show his skills as far as a 4-down base system versus a 3-down base system that NC State ran. And, like I said, he's a professional as well. He came in, he was a little down in weight. Got a text from Miss Kristen Coggin, our nutritionist, who said she likes the way he is a professional. I like why he attacks his day-to-day attitude, his day-to-day work. Those are signs and things that you like in a player.
Clayton, with Pro Timing Day taking place this Friday, I know there's going to be a handful of Gamecocks that are going to be taking part, but from a defensive standpoint, in particular, speaking about JJ and Mbare, I mean, what is it about him that just makes him so special that maybe we don't see? And what would you tell some of the scouts that are here to see him about just who he is and what he's able to bring to the table?
I mean, what you saw on tape from JJ, I think that we all know that he's a really good pass rusher. He played the run really good at times, but I still think he can get better. And I think JJ knows that too. And I think he's a big guy that can run, a big guy that can rush the passer, and he has the size and the thickness to play run and pass, which makes you a really complete football player. But I think he has still some more room in that ceiling. He hasn't maxed out his potential yet. So I think that would be the first thing. And the second thing is just his everyday approach to the game, his everyday, how he would be in the locker room, how he would be in the meeting room with your guys on the field. I think he's an upbeat guy. Not many days did he have a day where he was a Debbie Downer type day, but he was always upbeat and up, running around laughing and smiling and hair all over the place and giving us a good vibe. So I think if I'm a organization, those kind of guys you want to have. You want to have as many of those guys you can possibly can, and he will be one of those guys. Thank you. You guys have a good one. Take care.